So hey everyone, welcome to the first ever pilot podcast of Three Guys in a White Coat. My name's Mike Bernazzani and I'm one of your hosts, and I'm here with my two buddies, Matt and Matt. And today we're just going to tell you a little bit about our podcast and get you into it. So you guys want to say hi real quick?
Yeah, I'm Matt Semler. I'm one of the two Matts, so you'll be hearing a lot of Matt during this entire podcast. But
yeah, it might get a little confusing. I'm the other Matt DeYoung, and we're really excited to just kind of tell you guys a little bit about our experience so far as med students and what it's taken for us to get here.
Yeah. So we're just going to go around real quick. We'll tell you where we went to college and all that so you have an idea of where we're coming from. So I'm from Boston. I went to Northeastern University, graduated in 2015. I took a couple gap years before I came to medical school, so we'll get some information on that. What about you, Matt?
yeah, so I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. Went to the University of Wisconsin. Didn't move too far for college. Graduated in 2016. Also took a couple gap years, but Mike said we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, and I am born and raised in Chicago, but I went to school up at college in Grand Rapids, Michigan, at a place called Calvin College. And I graduated in 2017, took one gap year, and we will be talking a little bit, again, like they just said, about those gap years.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool. I think we have a lot of diversity among the three of us right here. Like, I've been out of school for a while. You've been out of school less. You've been in between us.
Kind of the middleman over here.
Yeah, so I think that we're going to have a lot of good perspective. And, like, you've lived here your whole life. Mm-hmm. I moved from Boston, so, like, this is, like, my first big move. So I just think that we're going to have a lot of things to talk about. But the first thing we kind of want to just get you guys into is, like, how we came up with this idea. So, like, the first day of school, we all met, and we immediately clicked, like, really quick. And we were sitting down one day, and we were just talking about, like, our paths to getting to medical school. And we kind of realized that we all had really different paths to getting here. And we all figured out that, like, there's so many people in our class that took completely different routes that we didn't even know about. Like, Christina was going to be a principal at one point.
Yeah, and so, like, that's one of the things is you'll hear us mention different members of our class, and
We should mention that we go to Loyola in Chicago.
true.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
The three of us, we are current year one medical students at Stritch School of Medicine, Loyola University, Chicago. Another thing about that is in no way, shape, or form are the views we express in this podcast views of Loyola. These are our own personal views, and we are, students at that school, but we are not representing them in any way, shape, or form.
We also don't want to come off as like experts that like we know how to get into medical school. We're going to talk a little bit about what we did, how it worked out for us, our whole experience with the application process, but this shouldn't be a whole checklist kind of thing if you're following along at home to make sure you have everything that we're talking about.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And that was the thing. It's like, that's how this all started. Like Mike said, we just sat down, we're talking about, who we are as people, how we got here. And we just kind of laughed because no one has like an A to B point from undergrad to med school. And I think it's one of those things where med students have this illusion that it is a formula. You do A, you do B, you do C, and then boom, you're ready to go to med school. And one of the reasons we wanted to talk about this and start this whole podcast is to kind of shed a little light on all the different ways you can do medically related things, not even medically related things, and still have that affect your chances of being a candidate in a medical student, as a medical student. Yeah,
I thought that was one of the coolest things when we first got to medical school. So when we were in our orientation one day, they put up this big PowerPoint and they showed like all the different degrees that everybody had to get there, and you were just like, oh my god, like you could do that and still be a medical student. Like I had no idea about that. I, for one, wanted to be an engineer at one point. But then when I decided I want to go to medicine, I thought I had to do biology because I feel like that was all that was ever presented to me in high school was that, if you want to go to medical school, you do a specific science degree and that's what you do. And who knows, maybe I would have gone to school and been like a civil engineer or a biomedical engineer and then taken the MCAT and then gone from there. But I feel like since we've been in school now, we've just seen so many different people. And that's one thing we do want to do. At one point, we want to bring in people from our class and let them talk to you guys as well. So you guys should get some like real interesting perspectives out of this.
Yeah. And I think, because some people speak 7 languages.
I think the most person's like eight languages in our class, like from kind of all over the United States. We got a lot of people from out of the country too, I think.
Yeah. And so that's the thing is medical school and the journey to get into medical school is a journey. It's not a path. And I think I found myself in a very similar position to Mike, being like, yeah, I like a lot of things, but if I want to do medical school, I have to major in biology. I have to major in biochemistry. So I majored in biochemistry, and I did enjoy it, but did I ever see myself working as a biochemist? No. And I think that was one of the things that, looking back, had med school not panned out, I would have been in a very interesting predicament, not being stuck with a major that maybe I didn't want to work as a career, but was more of a means to an end.
Never would have used my degree for anything else. It would have been the end of my biology degree.
Oh, I had a little panic attack about that too. I'm a biology major, and I said the same thing. I was like, what can I actually do with this besides research? And at that point, I knew I didn't want to do research. And so it was between research and medical school. If medical school didn't work out, I'm probably going back to school for a couple more years.
And now here we are trying to do research in medical school.
Yeah, exactly. It all comes back.
And I think that's a pretty good lead into those are some of the things we want to talk to you guys about. So I don't know about you guys. Well, actually I do know about you guys. But I had no one in my family that was medically relevant or anything like that. I'm the first one in my house to go to medical school. So I didn't know what I needed to do. So when I went to college, I was with my buddies Paraj and Addie and all them. And they already kind of had a leg up on me, and they knew where they were going and stuff, where I was like, oh shoot, I was supposed to do research while I was younger, and I was supposed to do volunteer stuff. I had no idea these were things that I was supposed to do. So we're going to talk about a lot of the things that you guys should be looking at now to kind of prepare for this career if you want to do that. One of the things we'll talk about is leadership at one point. And we'll give you guys our perspectives on it and all that stuff. But you guys want to rattle off a couple of other ones?
Yeah, I'd say extracurricular activities. I have a minor in global health, so I did a lot of abroad, volunteering work abroad. And again, this is not something that everyone has to do. Mike didn't have a lot of volunteering experience.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, so again, this is not a checklist.
Right.
We just want to give you a kind of perspective of what's all available, what could add some weight to your application, stuff like that.
Yeah, and the things that are always circulating are, shadowing physicians, doing research, volunteering, and one of the most interesting things for me is actually talking to admissions committees, and kind of learning about what they seek. I think one of the myths is that any volunteer experience you want to try and make it medically related to show that you're, I want to be a medical student, so I'm going to volunteer in a place that is medically affiliated. And whether or not, one of the things that the admissions councils told me, they were like, that's not necessarily. We just want to see that you're passionate about things and looking to dedicate your time as a student in undergraduate degree to things that are, important to you.
Yeah, and the world. I think one of the coolest things I'm ready to talk about in one of these is mentorship.
Yep.
Because without the mentors that I've had in Dr. Frank, Dr. Ng, and Dr. O, I never would have got here. You need to find someone that's willing to take you under their wing and be like, hey, this is the path. This is what you need to do. And someone who's going to be honest with you too. And I feel like it's hard to find that. But I'm excited. I can't wait for that podcast so we can talk about that. And because if I had that when I was younger, I think it would have got me way further ahead, way faster. And it just took me a little bit longer to get there. But I'm happy with what I got. So
it's kind of nice to see that end goal too. That that's what you're thinking about, and they can tell you, like you said, they can give you their own firsthand experience with it, and they're going to give you the truth about it. If something's really hard, they're going to tell you it's really hard, and not just kind of beat around the bush with it. So
yeah, I loved going to Dr. O's house, and even if I was just having wine with him and his family, and seeing his lifestyle with his kids, and seeing how he treated his residents and his fellows and all that, it was just really cool. It put you in the environment, and you got to really experience it. So I loved that part of it.
Yeah. So as undergraduates, do you guys feel back when we were undergraduates,
a while ago.
Yeah. Do you feel you had proper guidance while you were at school, or do you feel it was more of a mentor thing that you found rather than constructs such as the pre-med advising groups that are at most colleges?
You go first, Mike.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think Northeastern had a really good program. I think when I was going through it, I didn't realize what I had, but I think looking back now, I'm like, oh my God, everything you told me was right. And that's one of the other big things I think is important about this. A lot of the things that we're probably going to tell you are probably literally the same things your advisors are going to tell you, but we feel it's different if you hear it from us. We can tell you, no, listen to them. They know what they're talking about. If they tell you that you need to go do something, go do it. But I felt really supported at our school. And I mean, they just changed over administration a little bit too. So I think they went in a good direction. Miss Dr. Bagley, I loved her. She was awesome.
Little shout out there.
Yeah, no, she was great. But I think that Cynthia over there will do an excellent job now. And I mean, they threw like a party for us when we got into medical school. Like we got to go there. And I feel like that just like makes it feel homey. It makes it feel good. So yeah, I think Northeastern did it right.
I think it depends on kind of the size of the school too. I mean, Wisconsin's a big school. There's a lot of science majors, a lot of biology majors.
That's true.
People wanting to go into pre-med too. So, it's hard when you have 5 or 6 pre-med advisors that are looking over a couple thousand students.
How big is Wisconsin? I for the record, I have no idea how big Northeastern is. I'm terrible at that.
44,000, including graduate. It's about 7,000. Yeah, I'm probably saying that wrong. Maybe 40,000.
How big was your science lecture?
Like Gen Chem was about 300 people.
Oh my God.
And that was just one lecture. So they had they had about 4 or 5 general chemistry lectures. All with
I think we maxed at 150.
Yeah. I was gonna say, how big was your school, Mike?
I don't even know. Like, no, I'm so bad at that. Like,
Okay.
high school's like the only thing that I ever knew. Like, so I went to UNE. I still don't even know how big. I know it was bigger than UNE. I'd say if anyone out there is like in college right now, I'd say I'm probably about the same size as like a BU or something like that. Definitely not like UMass or anything like that. Like, I never had a class that was 300 kids.
Yeah, it's a lot of students. It's a little intimidating sometimes, but I think that does kind of like sway the results a little bit. So like, I personally did not have a lot of experience with our pre-med advisors, and that's just because I didn't have time. There wasn't time to make appointments. They didn't have a lot of time to make appointments. There were a bunch of students trying to get in. So I luckily have a couple cousins who are out there. Aaron Moore, Patrick, if you guys are listening, thank you.
Oh yeah, love you, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, if you guys are listening, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, they kind of helped me, walk me through it. Kind of pushed me to be like, this is the volunteering you might want to get involved to. It would be good to get involved with research, but I feel like a lot of it I did on my own. Yeah. Which, hey, you worked out. We're here.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that I noticed in our class, and I'm sure it is amongst other classes as well, is that you just see a caliber of driven, motivated people that have, worked their butts off in order to do things that they're passionate about, at the same time maintain academic success. And that shows, because you get a class of 100 and what do we have, 165?
Something like that.
165 students that are very genuine people, very down to earth, but also extremely intelligent, and they're brilliant.
Which is a little intimidating sometimes when you're in a class with a bunch of 165 really brilliant people.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, so while you went to a very large Big Ten school, and Mike, you went to
mine's like a medium-sized
school. Yeah. My school had 4,000 kids, and I personally loved that because I got to know the pre-med advisors and a lot of the professors really well, and kind of develop relationships in a way that, for me, that was one of the things that I know I've worked or has worked well for me as a formula, is maybe not such a big school. I didn't go to a big high school. I didn't go to a big college, and I wouldn't classify as Loyola as a big medical school. But I think the small environments where you can build relationships, for me, was what worked. I don't know how you guys felt about those kinds of things.
I think Northeastern was the perfect size school for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, and everyone likes bigger sizes or smaller sizes. I mean, like, I grew up outside of Madison, so I knew I wanted to go to Madison my entire life. Yeah, but it's all what you're used to.
I think picking, like, I didn't even think about this too, but like, maybe one thing we should talk about is like how to pick a college. Like, if you're in high school and you're thinking about this now, like, college is a huge decision on like what you want to do later in life too.
Yeah.
And finding a school, like, it's very similar to medical school. Like, you have to find the school that fits you.
Exactly. Something that fits you is super important.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things is it's really, again, nice to have the three of us where we all come from very diverse backgrounds.
I'm realizing we're even more diverse than I thought we were.
Yeah.
We really don't know each other that well now.
and we can kind of pick apart the advantages, or, if there are not even that big of a difference between a big school, a medium school, or a small school in these kinds of processes. And I think, like you said, Mike, high school, if you're in high school listening to this and, you're thinking about this in the long term, first of all, good for you.
You got a long-term plan. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's very important.
I was not you.
To be able to set those long-term goals. But find something that fits you. For me, that was a small school where I could get to know people, and my class size was never more than I don't know. I don't think it was ever more than 100 people in a class. And that was even those like big Gen Chem classes. So I don't know. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about finding your own path. And again, that's what this podcast is about. Talking about the very different ways that everyone can end up at the same place. There is no formula to this.
I think that was like the perfect way to segue into like the closing for the pilot. Like, this is totally intended for, if you are in medical school, we want you to listen. That's amazing. But we really want to target this at people that are in their undergraduate careers or high school. You know, we just feel like this is a great way for you guys to kind of start thinking about this early and give you guys some like candid experience on what we went through. So for the next couple of podcasts, we're going to be like focusing on stuff that the AMCAS, which is the application you'll eventually fill out, is going to focus on. So we're going to talk about like leadership, volunteering, research, like just like general experience and stuff like that.
Extracurriculars, all that fun stuff.
Personal statements. So that's what our first block is really going to focus on. And then later on in future blocks, we're going to go after like meeting our actual class and all that kind of stuff. So I think that this is a perfect place to like close up. You guys got anything left to say?
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to this, obviously, and we want this to be a good experience because looking back at our own trajectories to get to med school, it would have been really nice to hear from med students without having to email or have a connection into the medical student life, and just to have some guidance from people who are actually in it or went through it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think throughout the way we'll probably give you guys a little hint of like, you know, what we're doing right now, what we just studied, what we finished. What
we need to open up an Instagram account.
Yeah,
I was telling Matt the other day we should make an Instagram, like we can post things that like we're learning in class, or like a lot of you guys probably think that medical school like isn't fun. We
have a pretty good time.
We have an awesome time. Like, this is I'm thoroughly enjoying this so far. I know it's going to get harder, but
but that's something you come into it and you know it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
You know, everyone knows med school is like going to be hard, but everyone, you know, we're all in the same boat. We all, you know, we got an exam next week, 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Quiz after next Monday, then a test, and we just had a test on Tuesday.
Sorry to bring that up, guys.
No worries.
But
no, I think this is going to be a great thing for all of us to talk about, and hopefully for you guys to listen to.
Yeah, and it's going to be a work in progress as we go, so we'll let you guys know. We're probably going to open up like an email or something like that and an Instagram, so as we keep going, we'll let you guys know what we have going on, but you know, we're real happy to have you guys listening, and we hope that you continue to listen, and we want your feedback to know what you want to hear.
Yeah, please send us questions and stuff like that. If there's like a big topic that, you know, if you guys are covering in school, or some pre-med advisor that tells you to look at and we didn't cover it, make sure you guys send us to that, and we can give you our best, you know, opinion on it and go from there.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is Three Guys in a White Coat signing off.
Three Guys in a White Coat.
Three Guys in a White Coat signing off.